Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Vincent Tan speaking. This time, I'm going to share you how to install the TNV.
This sharing device into these 5 parts. I have put the corresponding video linkages at the below description area just for your reference. Moreover, I also provide the correct subtitle. Don't forget to turn it on if you need. Copper pipe connection, bracing, and insulation.
And the next is the frame fixing. And for this one, first is this when you're going to get through a wall, please to install the sleeve to protect the insulation and protect the copper pipe. Just avoid this. And to install it, just use this frame to get across the pipe is okay, and this is not that difficult. Or you can just follow your local code to install this, it's okay. And the next is tube bracing. This is to connect the branch pipe with the straight copper pipe. And during the bracing, we are not allowed to use the additive or the soft solder because we're just afraid that maybe this material will have reaction with the refrigerant and the oil, and this may damage the system. And on the other hand, during the bracing, we require to charge the nitrogen to protect the copper pipe. And here is the nitrogen pressure requirement. And also after bracing, you need to keep charge the nitrogen at least 5 minutes until it completely cool down.
The line is the comparison between the bracing with and without nitrogen. On the left side is without nitrogen, so you can find that there are lots of the oxides generated at the inside surface of the copper tube. And although it is very thick, which is not easy to peel out, but you need to know that inside it is the refrigerant and the oil flow. We're just afraid that the speed is very high, and sooner or later the refrigerant can peel off these oxides, which means these oxides will finally get into the system and easily jam or stuck at the, for example, the electronic expansion valve or the capillary. And for this one, this will lead to the system to be damaged, and which we need to avoid.
And the last is the distance requirement, and which means for the horizontal or the vertical, the requirements is a little bit different, and according to the size of the copper pipe is also different. And when it get across the wall, fixed within 300 millimeter from the hole on both sides.
For the insulation material, you need to follow the local code to choose the insulation. If you don't understand the local code, here is the requirement, which is the insulation material, the thermal conductivity should be less than this value, and also the thickness is according to different size of the copper tube. Here is for different thickness.
And for the pipe isolation, the key word is it to be no gap. And here is this side is the indoor unit, and this is the copper pipe. When you connect together, ensure there's no gap at anywhere. Ensure you cannot see the copper is okay. And just like this is the good example, and this is the poor example because the condensing water always generate here, and this inside, if it is inside the ceiling, it is almost difficult to handle it. And also if you need to combine the installation, you can use the groups to fix with the copper pipe. and then also at the gap also apply some glue to make them together. And if there's some gap here, the insulation is not long enough, you need to cover it. And here is the requirement: at least one end should be 100 millimeter longer. And after that, here is the final. And the next is the branch pipe also require the insulation, but this is just after the nature gun test, because for the leakage there are always happen when we do the bracing, which is always at the branch pipe. And after the nature gun test, you can sure that there is no leakage, then you can do the insulation. And also to ensure there's no gap, and in this case you can find it NG, right? And just pay attention to the material, and please never use the transportation cushion because there's no insulation effect. And here is a video just for your reference, and this is how we do in China for the insulation of the branch pipe. And first we cut off a suitable length and split it off. And inside it we just apply some glue to make sure it has good contact with the branch pipe. And also at the gap also apply some glue to make them to be good contact with the insulation. And also you can pay attention that the straight pipe you can do it insulation first, because for this straight pipe there is almost no leakage potential. And one pipe is finished and is for the other branch. Also we need to cut a suitable length and make it to be a good size, and then split it off. And similar, apply some glue on it to make it good contact with the branch pipe. And at last is just ensure there's no gaps on the surface, and that's okay. And that's finished. Here is some examples for your reference. First is this one. You can find that this is the clamp and it just squeezed the insulation too much. And what is the consequence is that it will pull the insulation effect, and which is similar to this one. You can find it there are lots of the condensing water generation here, right? The reason is that this tape tied up too tight and also lower the insulation effect. And as for this one, and actually here is a branch pipe, you can also find it. It just go back to the here, and also I don't know why you need to go back from here. And the other one is too urgent, too fast, which means there's no half meter straight pipe, right? And as for this one, also you can find the gauge here. That means for the insulation, there is it cannot ensure here is no gap, which means the condensing water may generate here.
That's all for this sharing. If you still have any other question or any other suggestion, feel free to send me to my email address. Meanwhile, you can also scan this QR code to access the sharing. Hasta la próxima. それではまた今度。